Okay, so we have a playbook and we have some variables and we've looked at the various variable types. We've got lists, we've got maps. But what happens if we have a task whereby we want to only run that task if one of our variables meets a certain criteria, like the value is a particular value or some other condition is met? Well, Ansible has that capability and it's called a conditional. So if we have a look at our tasks here on the screen, we can see we've actually only got the one. I'm just going to add a second debug statement. Okay, I'm going to call it goodbye, and I'm just going to say goodbye friend, and that's all it will do. It'll just print out a message called goodbye friend. But when do we want that message to actually render to our console? When do we want this task to actually execute? Well, let's look at our first conditional. Now, conditionals are implemented using the keyword when. Okay, and that's basically saying when this statement is true, perform this task. Okay, so if we want this particular task to execute when a particular variable is of a particular value, then we use a when statement. So let's look at our map, and let's remove our map, and let's just put run task true, say goodbye false, A1, right? So I'm going to define some variables here. They're just simple key value variables. In fact, I'm going to create another one, and it's going to be a list. Okay, so we've got run task is equal to true, say goodbye is equal to false, A equals 1, and B is a list of numbers with 2 and 3 in there. So here's what I want to do. When run task is equals, so double equals, okay, that assigns a value to a variable. This checks the value of a variable. So when run task equals true, that task will execute. Okay, you can also omit that and just put when run task, and the when variable, you can also simply say when run task being the name of the variable, and the when statement will evaluate run task, and if it's equal to true, then the task will run. I actually prefer to just type it out so that it's more explicit, it's easier to read. There's no need for someone reading your code that doesn't understand that the when statement will parse that just fine. They don't need to know that little kind of intricate detail. They can just see that when run task equals true, and straight away they know that run task is a boolean and it needs to equal true, otherwise that task will not execute. Okay, so what I'm going to do down here is say when say goodbye. Okay, so we'll demonstrate both of them. So let's see what happens if we run this playbook. Remember, we've got gather facts set to false, true. So it says hello Ansible undefined. Now the reason it's done that is because we deleted our map, and here I'm saying our map.a type debug. Our map doesn't exist anymore, so that's what happens when you try and print an undefined variable. But the important thing to note is that the task did not skip, right? The first one is our hello task that executed. The second one was skipped, and the reason for that is say goodbye is false, right? And we can prove that by doing that. We'll get the exact same output. We'll forget about our error for now, and we can see that we get goodbye friend because goodbye is false, right? So that's true. Does that make sense? Say goodbye equals false. That's correct. It does equal false. So that statement is true, and therefore it executes, right? But if I do equals true, we've been explicit with it. We know it will. We know it's not true, right? We know it's false, so therefore it skips that task again. If we pop this out, we say hello friend. Okay, we just get rid of that Ansible undefined, and again we can see very clearly that one task runs and the other does not. So if we come up here now and we say false, and then we say true, we're not saying hello anymore. We're now just going to say goodbye. Okay? But what happens if you need... So that's a very, very simple conditional statement using the when clause. Okay? We can also go... What if we want a value to not equal something? So what if we say run task not equals true, which in this case is true? Well, let's have a look. Let's see what we get. It runs because it's not true. That's right, it's not true, it's false, and false is not true. Okay, it's a little bit confusing saying it over and over like that, but it's effectively that is a fact. We can also, instead of using the not equals symbol like that, we can actually just put when not run task, which is true, because when not run task is the same as saying when run task not equals true. Okay, execute. So will it execute? Yeah, because it is false. And if we set it to true, we'll see that it will no longer execute that task. Okay, so that is a very simple set of conditionals. We're going to look at using the keyword and or in the next video.